Tonight is a special episode of AnAxToGrind. I'm your host, Jason Wampler. I don't look good in color. I still look unhealthy and grainy and gross. So we're going to do these videos in black and white and spare some people a gag reflex. Hey, folks. eBay, I'm going to be blunt. eBay is run by a group of people who, as of late, have become under media attack for dishonest business practice. I'm talking about Indians. I'm talking about citizens of India and all the scam jobs, all the scam artists, and all the scam operations that are taking place in India. Unfortunately, eBay, at least their customer service, is run by operations that are closely related to or intertwined with eBay's customer service operations. For whatever reason, these folks feel it's okay to just rip people off. They don't take the full frontal attack approach anymore. What they're doing now is a little bit more subtle. I sold a control unit for $25. I'm never going to see that money. And for whatever reason, it got whittled down to $20. And then now the money's just not there. And the reason being is, of course, they made a mistake on shipping when, I told them the package weighed 15 pounds and I gave them the dimensions. Well, they made a mistake and they came back and they charged me another $20 for shipping. Well, I got the buyer to send me a check for $40 to reimburse me, because I told him about my losses, and he understood that the shipping was extra. I thought that was just a mistake. The next thing that happened on this sale, and another sale for the same person, the same account, is they're having a hard time linking my bank account. And this has just been going on and on and on and on and on. So apparently my bank account refused it, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if the bank account refused it, you get the money back. But where's the money? Well, the lady couldn't answer on that. The lady on customer service couldn't answer that question. I gave my bank account information. I did talk to one intelligent customer service technician. He was able to help me change the name of my account. So I went under an alias David Armstrong, which is actually my other name. My other last name is Armstrong. My middle name is David. And I changed it back to Jason Wampler, and I straightened out the banking information again. Well, that was about 3 or 4 or 5 days ago. And I've looked at that bank account, and the money hasn't been deposited in that bank account. And strangely enough, it doesn't exist on the eBay account either. So what little money was going to be deposited, because of the second sale, I got a sale on the rocket that I sold, that money's just disappeared. So now I sold, I opened up a second account. First sale, I sold a tablet. I red flag. I'm thinking to myself, I'm never going to get the money for this. I shouldn't sell it. I use it to do writing at home, and I've got it linked to my printer right there at Pixma, which is relatively reliable. It just eats up printer cartridges like popcorn. And I'm having a dispute with the guy, and he wants $78. Well, the last time I checked, I had $60. So I had to come up with $18 to eat shipping, and I already told him the description on the seller site on the listing was, buyer is responsible for the shipping on return if they don't want the item. It's right there. It's always been my policy. Well, he ignored that. Now eBay suspended my activities in that second account. Now I've got to come up with $78. And now my money has been whittled down to $49. The other day, it was $50. So here we go again. So the money in the first account for the first two items, the rocket launch controller and the rocket, the model rocket that I sold, and the model rocket launch controller. Okay, so not only am I never going to see that money, and I had to have the person who bought it send me an extra $40, and that's from back east. That's being held up by bad weather. I understand that, and he's a straightforward fella. He's not a crook. But I'll see that $40, I hope, fairly soon, maybe next week or two in the mail. But now on the first account, I sold the rocket, and Model Rocket and the Model Rocket launch controller for him. I actually owe him $2.49. And funny thing is, I owed him the exact same amount last month. Didn't make anything. And I think I sold a couple of items and never saw that money. I'm not going to see that money. I'm down to $49 on the sale of the tablet. Kind of wondering where the rest of that money went. And they're holding up my account, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I go to FedEx, the shipping center in downtown. I got stuff on 30th Street in Washington, in downtown Los Angeles, and I gotta tell you, they're bar none. They're the best shipping center that you could possibly hope to go to. I always thought FedEx was too expensive. I was wrong. They're very competitively priced, and they're basically the best they are at the business. They're passionate and talented about what they do. So that's the one good thing about this. But I made, sold 3 items, made 3 trips. That burned up my time, gas in my vehicle. I took a little time off from my regular job, but I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so that being said, I'm just walking away from both eBay accounts. I don't have my tablet anymore, but I have made a good friend. The guy's name is Thomas. He's with Civil Air Patrol in Maryland. I think Maryland or Delaware. I think Maryland, and real great guy. He's an engineer like I am. I'm an engineer, an author, mechanic, etc. I'm a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats, but mostly an engineer, designer, and author. And he's an engineer himself, and he's just as bad as I am. He talks too much. He needs to get one of these blogs to really get it out of his system. But here's the bottom line. If you're a small seller, if you're a small volume seller, if you're not on eBay Motors, and even if you are, I would be very, very, very cautious. Right now, eBay has information on 4 of my 3 banks, one of which I've walked away from, and I just terribly afraid. By the way, these fly-by-night banks like Chime and Venmo, they're okay to a certain point, but you've got to be careful. Any one of these banks where they have customer service that's represented by anybody from India, I don't care if this sounds racist or not. I'm sorry, but there's something about their culture that fosters the mentality that it's all right to steal money from people. And if you don't believe me, don't call me a racist and pass along and try them on for size, do business with them, and see what happens to your money. I mean, I used to do the same thing to people when I was a bad car mechanic, but the reason I did, I couldn't charge enough money for my labor, so I ripped off people on parts in the back end, and I've gotten away from that. I don't do mobile automotive repair anymore. I didn't like it. I was sucky at it, and I'm in the process of paying people back that I'd ripped off in the past. Debts going back as far as 20 years. I want to get these people paid off and give them back the money I stole from them. So that's how I am. Kind of takes a thief to catch a thief, I guess. So I've got skeletons in the closet too. But I was really counting on making some money with eBay, and apparently because they hold your money in escrow, they don't give it to you. Once you sell the item, you don't get paid. You don't get paid for the item until the customer receives the item, says they're happy with the item, and puts in positive feedback and says, okay, go ahead and pay them. So, if you go through the checkout line, a third party says, okay, well, now you can pay for the groceries. You've already prepared the food, cooked a couple meals of the food you took from the grocery store. I'm not digging this. These other sites like OfferUp and Shopify, good luck. I mean, if they deteriorate and they get as bad as eBay, I used to do business with eBay. I turned and burned. I had the PayPal account, getting checks in the mail every single day. I mean, it was the second source of income. It was what they call a side hustle, and it worked. That was 20 years ago. So they've deteriorated to the point right now where the whole thing is a fast hand scheme. It's very, very, very subtle. So I don't, unless there was a consumer watchdog group that was really watching them closely, you're kind of going to miss it. But I tell you what you're going to really miss is the fact that you start selling a bunch of valuable stuff that you really need money for. You're going to be waiting 2 or 3 months on a sale that made you $178. By the time you get that money, you're going to get a couple of $15 payouts, a $30 payout, and that's it, and you're going to wait about 2 or 3 months for it. And you're going to give them all your banking information, and the person who bought the item from you, the valuable item that you really didn't want to give up, but you need the money for, well, I mean, you got $60 on a $175 sale and had to wait 2 months for it. You made a couple calls to eBay. They've got all your banking information, including your social, your birth date, your mailing address, etc., etc. And guess what? You're out. So my suggestion to you is, if you want to check eBay out for yourself and you have a different experience, leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me I'm wrong, and tell me what I did wrong. But I'm sure I did create a few problems, but the old saying, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you. Or is it the other way around? Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I think that's it. I gave them a second chance after I hemmed and hawed about them around the turn of the year, the end of November, December of last year. I had the same problem. I made big sales. I had nearly $700 on the books. And of all that $700, I saw about $60 or $70 over a period of about 4 months. Where'd the rest of the money go? I sold a lot of items online. I had kind of a good side hustle. I'd go on Craigslist and I'd find free stuff, and the stuff I didn't use for the rocketry business, the tools and the electronics and items, I'd sell on eBay, and it was developing to be a good side hustle. The problem is this practice of keeping me waiting to get paid until the customer received the item, and it was holiday season. I found out U.S. Postal Service does not do very well with packages. They only do well with letters. It's just a combination of comedy of errors. And I kept thinking, well, maybe it's my false problems I'm creating. Well, that's the hustle. That's where it's subtle. They kind of hide behind all the mistakes and the hang-ups and the hoopla and the red tape it takes to get paid to get your money. And so they're kind of shielding themselves from the fact that I think they're just siphoning your money. They're just fast-handing your money. So eBay is run by a bunch of criminals right now. I don't give a good goddamn what anybody has to say. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. My name is Jason Wampler. This has been another episode of An Axe to Grind. Usually An Axe to Grind is no more than 3 minutes because that's all the format in YouTube will get me. But I'm filming this on my own camera, on my own camera's phone, because I had a little bit more to say. But I'm officially done with eBay. I don't think you should go near them. Don't trust them with your money. They hold on to your money. I don't know. I'm never going to see any money from them. I sold $500 worth of goods again in the last month and a half. The controller's worth $250. I only sold it for $25. The rocker was worth $100. That's $100. The laptop was $100. So $450 worth of items, and I owe eBay money. How does that work? I don't get it. Okay, so I've just analyzed it left and right, but like I said, this is the second round where I'm failing to get paid any money by eBay. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop drop this video on YouTube. I'm gonna go ahead and leave another video on TikTok. I'm gonna leave another video on Scoops. Every other Saturday, I'm gonna spend my day accessing every other single social media or social platform I can, and just warning people to stay away from eBay. It's a criminal organization. You're not going to make any money at it. Anyway, it's now 14-minute mark. My name is Jason Wampler. This has been another episode of An Axe to Grind. You folks have a nice evening.